Welcome back to New Rockstars. This is The Big Question, the podcast that gives you too much information about how WandaVision simulated reality might be a pocket universe that we also live in. What? Oh, I'm Erik Voss, and tumbling down this conspiracy rabbit hole with me is Tommy Bechtold. Hey, buddy.
Hey, what's up, Erik? Hello, everyone. How are you? Great to be here.
Are any of us still alive? Have we ever been alive? Are we just a piece of digital code in some greater framework that we're unable to see?
What is time? Is there money in heaven? All of these questions and more will be answered.
Hopefully, but let's try to encapsulate it in this week's big question. What is it this week?
Oh, Erik, the question we have, as we have alluded to slightly, simply, are we living in a simulation?
We're being for real, folks.
Yeah.
This is an important question now more than ever.
Oh, shit.
We're going there.
So let's do this thing!
Look, I don't know about you, Tommy, but when that WandaVision trailer came out, it hit really close to home, I think, for many of us. And it's because the way it seems to be evoking concepts like the Truman Show, The Matrix, Inception, that whole nagging notion that our lives in 2020 are so nightmarish that it feels like we could be living in a simulated reality. This whole idea of a simulated reality is, it's a conspiracy theory that is going on. Let's say that out of the gate. There is no evidence to point to it other than the lack of evidence to the contrary, which is not evidence, but it is used as proof in conspiracy theory thinking.
I've connected the two dots.
You didn't connect shit, but
I've connected them.
We here at New Rockstars like to keep our conspiracy theories as total conspiracies.
Total conspiracy.
Confined to fictional universes.
Yes.
But the truth is, nothing is more true right now for many of us than questioning our reality, and I really want to shine a light on some of these concepts so that, you watching at home don't get accidentally sucked into these things by accident, which is how they get you.
That's right. Next thing you know, you're believing the earth is round and that we went to the moon.
We don't want people thinking that kind of bogus bullshit. So we're going to be talking about the whole idea of the simulated reality, how WandaVision seems to be suggesting that for at least this Marvel universe in the show. And by the end of this, Tommy, my goal is to convince you that you are living in my simulation.
Oh, no convincing needed. That's a dream for me. I've been hoping that was the case. I'll be the puppet and you simply be the guiding hand, easing your way up inside of me, controlling me.
That invisible hand will never be more visible or more sensual.
Yes. Oh, God.
Well, let's start from the beginning.
Yes.
Where did this idea of a simulated reality come from? Just to give you a bit of historical perspective here. Really, ever since the Enlightenment in the 17th century, going forward, there were existentialist philosophers like Rene Descartes who began to wonder in his first meditation that our perceived world might be an illusion created by a demon to deceive us. He famously asked, how can you be certain that your whole life is not a dream?
Life is but a dream.
And that essay ended up inspiring a ton of things like Inception, that you never know that you're in a dream while you're in it. You don't know until you've woken up. So what if we're waiting to wake up from this dream? Around the same time, actually a couple decades later, there's this guy, Samuel Clarke, who popularized that master clockmaker theory of the universe, that the creator, this divine creator, pieced together and then wound up the machinery of the universe and then stepped back so that everything started to move in a scripted destiny and he would never need to divinely interfere with it.
I like that.
A lot of this is religiously linked, right? Like someone above us created this universe and everything is connected to a clockwork and we don't truly have free will. So a lot of this has been intertwined with a lot of religious thought. But in the modern era, in 1981, Jean Baudrillard wrote Simulacra and Simulation. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. It's a famous book that actually cameos in The Matrix. That's where Neo keeps, he hollows it out and keeps all of his discs in there. The Wachowskis required the cast to read this book. The central premise is that capitalism has reprogrammed society in such a way that simulated copies of reality have become our reality. The example being Disneyland. Disneyland has become a place that we seek to recapture the joy of childhood, but for most people, that particular joy never really existed. We've always just associated it with the dream of visiting Disneyland, but what is it representing? It's representing just other Disney movies that are themselves sugar-coated simulations of darker Grimm's Brothers fantasy source material.
That's nice. That's making my mind expand. That's making me question everything around me. What's real? What's not? I'm gonna break some shit in my room and see what's real and what's not.
And what Tommy is saying right now is basically how a lot of people felt in the late 90s when things like The Matrix came out, The Truman Show came out, and X-Files was on TV. Mm-hmm. Those titles specifically weren't just reflections of what was going on. For many people, they began. It was the genesis of their pop conspiracy thinking. In fact, terms like Red Pill from The Matrix has now been co-opted by many conspiracy theory movements as a term used for awakening someone from their bogus reality. And there have been a lot of studies showing the increasing popularity of real conspiracy theories like flat eartherism, false flag shootings, the moon landing being faked, 9/11 truthers are linked directly to those titles. And I want to say, when I say real conspiracy theories, I'm not saying the conspiracy theories themselves are making real statements. Yes. It's just that people really believe this bullshit.
Yes, very, very important discrepancy to make there.
Yes. And that's what's scary about this. Because of the numbers behind some of these theories and because of the real world consequences that kind of thinking has, we have to take them seriously and talk about them now.
I got a paper trail to prove it. Check this out. Take a look at this. Jesus Christ, that right there.
And really the most recent wave of these series rapidly expanded between the years of around 2010 to 2013. And what happened then? Well, that's when smartphones with constant access to YouTube and other sites hit the market and got in the hands of, middle-aged dudes with plenty of time on their hands.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. That's me.
That's us. That's us, baby. We're not judging. We're judging a little bit because we have to judge, but yeah, a little bit. There have been some thought experiments. Scientists actually believe that within 100 years, we may have the technology to simulate an entire universe down to a quantum level, including the inner workings of billions of individual minds. So let's say that like 200 years from now, the Earth that we live on is uninhabitable, which is looking increasingly likely, and humans, interstellar-like, have had to move to another planet. Those future humans may choose to run simulations to test out strategies that will ensure that humanity then will not make the same mistakes again, and they'd likely run lots of simulations, tweaking things here and there to figure out which strategies worked best. And that means there would be many, many simulated realities, but only one true reality. And considering the law of probability, we right now are more likely to be in one of those simulations than not. Are we not?
Terrifying.
You should be terrified. And, we saw this in that Black Mirror episode, Hang the DJ, right? Where the couple, who, they were found to just be one of many, many countless simulations to figure out how this dating app could connect to people. And a lot of people are saying, hey, it's possible we could be living in that reality. Despite having no evidence, this is just conjecture.
It sounds good to me. I'm willing to give all my time and money towards this theory.
Before you do that, you have to give all your time and money to Marvel because they're the ones who pay the bills here. And we're going to break down the 4 specific elements in this WandaVision trailer that parallel the real life elements of the simulated reality conspiracy theory. The first one we're going to talk about is this concept called awakening. So fundamental to all conspiracy theories is a concept of an awakening, a cathartic, eye-opening moment when that seed has taken root and you begin to see everything around you as proof of your conspiracy theory of the simulation in this case. So we talked about The Matrix. We've broken down The Matrix on this channel before, but the first act of that movie features 3 awakenings for Neo. Keanu's journey starts with Morpheus messaging him, "Wake up, Neo." And then the true awakening comes when he chooses the red pill. And he finally sees The Matrix as a clockwork mind prison from the outside after taking it. And the thing about awakening is once you have awoken, after you've been red pilled, it becomes impossible to go back. You cannot see your reality as you once saw it. So another example, in the Truman Show, in the beginning of that movie, a stage light falls from the sky. And the moment Truman sees that, he begins to question everything. The seed is planted, and all the fake, illusory aspects of his world gradually become apparent to him. Before that moment, he would see some of these on-set goofs and just look past them. He didn't think to question it. But once that happens, everything changes. Now, WandaVision seems to be following this pattern because both Wanda and Vision's eyes do go wide at that dinner party as they realize they didn't know their past or how they got here. The aspect ratio of their sitcom world widens, and it seems like each time Wanda realizes her reality is simulated in the show, that reality might collapse, and then she adopts a new sitcom reality.
Interesting.
Yeah, Tommy, do you remember how we got here?
Yeah,
Tommy, do you remember how we got here?
You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Oh, yes, I remember. Okay, I woke up to the sounds of my roommate screaming today, beating on my door, saying, "You did it again! You did it again! You fell asleep to Blue's Clues again! It's so loud! It's on your Bluetooth. You Bluetooth Blue's Clues. It's so loud."
You Bluetooth Blues Clues. And
Yes.
that sounds like a interesting, redundant statement that might cause us to glitch, which brings us to our second aspect, glitching. So glitches are freak occurrences that believers of simulated realities use as evidence. So this comes also from The Matrix, in which the glitch in The Matrix was the deja vu black cat.
Oh, deja vu. What is it?
A deja vu is usually a glitch in the Matrix.
There's actually an amazing subreddit called Glitch in the Matrix, which I love. Users describe similar experiences, like they receive impossible phone calls, they have false memories that they could not have had because they didn't live it, and then their brother will say, oh, that person died before you were born, but they have distinct memories of that person. It's fascinating.
I gotta get on that because that happens to me weekly. Like, I experience something that I'm like, I've done this before. This has all happened before. Maybe I have powers. Maybe I'm the chosen one.
I'm pretty sure you are. Just eat this goop and live on our hovercraft and then plug in with us.
Sounds good.
And the thing is, Tommy, a lot of us experience that. It's only people who have like a lot of spare time to actually think back and reflect back on their lives, because the way memory is supposed to work is your mind is supposed to erase and recontextualize certain things in a way that is useful for you going forward. Memory is not supposed to be like a digital data dump where you can just go through files and objectively read what exactly went down. Our minds warp our realities from our perspective. That's why we have this right to a speedy trial in our court system. It's like witnesses, their memories do change over time. That doesn't mean that we should eliminate statute of limitations for certain crimes, right? Because we're finding that that has been used to defend people who've done horrible, horrible things in our society.
Yes,
so we're having a broader conversation about that. But what I'm saying is, like, when people claim that they remember something all the time, we get our memories wrong. There's a vast misunderstanding of how memory works. But the idea behind this is that people, when they work with machines, when they work with technology, we all know that eventually it glitches, it hiccups, because it's man-made, it's imperfect. What they end up doing is, when confusing or strange or inexplicable phenomena happen in the real world, they attribute it to glitches in our broader clockwork machinery. So a great example of this is the Mandela Effect. That's when people seem to be sharing collective false memories of things like Nelson Mandela dying in prison. He didn't. Or Sinbad starring in a genie movie called Kazam in the 90s. He didn't.
Yo, killing me with this.
Or that the Berenstain Bears used to be spelled as the Berenstein Bears. They never were.
Liar!
But it is amazing how, like, movie theater employees will say, I remember in the 90s working in a movie theater and we had standees for Sinbad dressed up as a genie in a movie called Kazam. How do I remember this?
I for sure remember that, and I don't, it's not true. That one was the Mandela one. I always knew he did not die in prison. The Berenstain Bears ones was fine by me. I'm not much of a reader and I'm afraid of bears. But the Sinbad one, that one hit me hard because I watched his sitcom, his Sinbad-com, and I was certain that he was in a movie called Kazam, and it turns out I was wrong.
There was a Nickelodeon animated show, Kablam. There was his name was Sinbad. There was the Shaq Genie movie,
Which that was called Shazam, right?
That was Shazam.
Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere in there, people are misremembering, and it's amazing how they can collectively misremember.
Yeah, that's what freaks me out.
So we see evidence of this in WandaVision, right? So Wanda's reality glitches in obvious ways, like when she intentionally warps the living room furniture around her, she's aware of it, but also in like other ways that seem out of these characters' control, like when, if you look closely, all of time freezes around Vision at one point in the trailer, suggesting, oh, this is how they're going to figure out that this reality is simulated. So, Tommy, my question for you is...
Eric.
Oh, sorry, I don't know what happened about that. I just got a really weird feeling. Things are starting to collapse here. We should move on to our next component, government and media control. So a huge component of really all conspiracy theories is that all authority figures, governments, Big media, big tech, big pharma, big financial elites, big religious institutions. They're all conspiring together to perpetuate whatever that lie is. George Orwell's 1984, a must-read if you weren't forced to read it in high school. This was a fictionalized tale of how dystopian societies run on propaganda, doublespeak, fake news. If your world is the media around you, that media can be controlled in certain ways to spread lies and force you to believe things that are not objectively true. And sadly, as we know, history has contributed to this belief. Not just now, this has been happening forever. Like, world powers have waged wars over false pretenses. They've engaged in wag the dog scenarios. That's where they claim that there's something going on, but they're really doing it just to distract from other scandals that they don't want to talk about. We've seen cases of fake media, fake towns with rehearsed residents in places like Russia, North Korea, China, other places. There's false claims on Facebook that led to horrific ethnic cleansing. In Guatemala in 1954, the CIA staged a coup and they broadcasted fake military events over the radio pretending to be news just to demoralize the Guatemalan army. And what's shitty about this is once there is evidence of that kind of trickery happened, it discredits the real legitimate news. Because people just say, oh, they're just crisis actors. I don't believe this happened. And that's how that seed of conspiracy thought is planted. Ay is perfectly stated, Tommy. WandaVision seems to be stoking these coals with the shot of Monica Rambeau exiting the Wanda pocket reality, landing outside. And what's there? Of course, a classic X-Files government perimeter. And the question we're now asking is S.W.O.R.D. containing Wanda's reality warping magic, or are they observing it? Also, basing each of Wanda's realities on sitcom tropes echoes the Truman Show. There is something inherently false about those multicam sets, and Wanda's simulation using the language of TV media to manifest her worlds is definitely reflective of what people think the moon landing was, right? Like they thought it was all on a TV set, so they couldn't believe it. And Tommy, I've been recording you with your webcam the whole time we've been knowing each other.
Oh, well, you have seen a lot of me.
We'll be having a long talk after this.
Some of it is just for practice, Eric. I want you to know I exercise a lot in front of this thing, and I apologize for the
exercise.
Some of the imagery that you've seen.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Our final one, which you could argue I've been doing this whole episode, is gaslighting.
Oh, I know all about this. I've been in a toxic relationship before, Eric. I'm an expert in gaslighting.
We both benefited from and perpetuated ourselves this kind of behavior. So what is gaslighting? We hear this term a lot.
There's no such thing as gaslighting, Eric.
There's never been gaslighting. We've always been at war with gaslighting. Gaslighting is really the process by which an abuser psychologically manipulates and controls a victim by using discrete lies, by recoding, by implanting false memories. They suggest things have always been this way. You must have forgotten. It's kind of this discrete, casual reinforcing of a false reality in someone's mind so that they're living in the reality you want for them so you can control them. Really, gaslighting is the bread and butter of cults and abusive relationships because it traps the victim into believing they deserve whatever mistreatment or oppression they're receiving and that there is no escape from it. This is just how things are.
Oh my God.
It's scary. This is the most frightening one because it happens all the time in all kinds of relationships.
Yeah.
Which is why we're talking about it, because it's a complex thing. It happens in cults, but it also can happen in a workplace. It can happen within families. And we all have to like come up with terms for these kind of things and talk about them so we can spot them when they're actually happening and react accordingly. So while the other things we talked about are core tenets of conspiracy thought, gaslighting is the vicious one. That's the ongoing active method of reinforcing the false reality. So notice how in the Matrix, the agents continue to call Neo Mr. Anderson in order to gaslight him into their coded label for him as opposed to the identity he has selected for himself. In the Truman Show, we see this throughout, right? Like his family and friends are continually gaslighting him with things like a fear of water, a fear of traveling. Oh, Truman, you've never liked to travel. I don't know what you're talking about. Despite he clearly wants to break free, you know?
Right.
Now, there is evidence that I spotted in this WandaVision trailer of gaslighting with Agatha's Agnes form, Catherine Hahn's character, where she plays a role in that 50s sitcom reality.
This is gonna be a gas!
Yes.
Tommy, she says the word gas.
Yes.
Gas. That cannot be a coincidence. Nothing in conspiracies are a coincidence. So Tommy, I think you should feel assured because I've obviously never made you question your reality, right? I've never done that to you.
Never.
No.
Well, there was,
No, you're misremembering. Remember when I said all memories were false and made up and warped?
Thank you.
Right?
Yep. No, you're absolutely right. Yep.
Yeah.
But no.
No. So, Tommy, I guess my question for you is, do you think by touching on things like a simulated reality conspiracy theory, do you think this will help people properly recognize when that kind of thing is happening? Or is it more likely to do, as Matrix did, force us to question our realities that we're living in that is actually real?
You're making it worse! Well, this is the danger of free thinking. Just kidding. No, free thinking is always good. But you have to have a healthy dose of skepticism. I mean, healthy is the key word. Because if a glitch in the Matrix or a distortion in your reality is something that makes your life more conveniently justifiable, like everyone is against you, that's why things are going bad, or you can't get things done, or you can't take care of yourself because there's a conspiracy against you, then that is a sort of paranoia that we all can fall victim to, that it can be very dangerous.
I'm protected because I made this hat.
However, there is, I think, a healthy amount of, brow furrowing you need to have when you're watching things reported to you or given to you where you're like, does this make sense? Especially through the internet. Now, obviously, there are real news sources that, are pretty watered down as it is. But, when you're getting information from, a site called, Cannonball Eagle, you might want to read through it and see if you're being manipulated. I just think, for me, the danger is if you start thinking everything as a conspiracy theory, then you start being able to justify why you could be a shitty person to everyone. That's what I see more in the red pilling is red pilling seems to be an excuse to be a f***ing asshole. Sorry, we'll delete that. But
no, we're leaving it in.
And I would not. I mean, for me, it's I guess call me a nice little robot slave. Yeah. But I would like to not be a jerk and maybe live under some simulated pretenses in order to not be a belligerent head. Anyway.
No, you're right on the money, Tommy, and we're discovering this in things like nerd media right now. Recently they announced that Electro's coming back for Spider-Man 3. Yeah. I got a lot of comments, people saying, is this legit? The source was The Hollywood Reporter. It's one of the most legit media news sites. Whereas people will also send me messages. They're like, oh, this one anonymous Reddit comment said that Kraven is going to be the new Avenger or something. It's confirmed, right? It's confirmed.
Yeah. They can't put anything on the internet that isn't true.
I heard Wolverine's going to be played by Giancarlo Esposito, according to comicbonanza.org.
Yeah. So that's why I think it's more important than ever to go into your work. Rather than waiting for news to hit you, you have to preemptively, as a young adult, determine what legitimate, valid news sources are, and understand that there's a difference between gossip columns, forums, and things like that, and things that are real news. And you can tell things are real news if they are independently verified, if they actually they have connections to the source, and they are connecting things not just through one source, but through multiple sources that can confirm and verify these things. And also, whatever you feel about publications like the Washington Post, the New York Times, when they report something, they have their entire paper's credibility so much on stake. They lose so much if they print something wrong, and then they retract it later if they do, as opposed to other sites that don't even bother with that part.
And they have legal obligations. There's litigation that can be in the millions and hundreds of millions of dollars, as we saw from Gawker. Hulk Hogan's suit against Gawker. It's to take something to print requires, in that forum, a pretty fair amount of sourcing that's already done, which is why I'm sure, Eric, you share the frustration of when an article or a thought is shared that is already attached to a good source, the annoyance of someone underneath going, source? It's the source is the thing that I printed for you. That is a very legitimate news institution. I'm sorry. I don't know who hurt you.
You have been hurt by somebody. That much is clear.
And that's the danger of political actors discrediting valid, trusted, decades-old media institutions just because they don't serve them or they don't paint a positive portrayal of them. That's not what an independent media is supposed to do. Right. They are not propaganda machines. And if they're reporting negative things about the president, it's because the president is the most powerful figure on earth and needs to have an independent media criticizing the fact that he didn't pay his taxes.
Yeah, or doing other negative things. Don't at me. Don't at me. But can you guys believe this clown? Just kidding. That's a quote from the debate.
Shut up, man.
Will you shut up, man? Listen,
oh, boy.
Don't you ever use the word smart around me again.
What an insane time we're living in. Well, let us move on to some people who helped us make this episode, starting with our friends at DoorDash. Between answering emails, Zoom calls, and watching every new Rockstars video multiple times to make sure I didn't make a mistake or mispronounce the name of an obscure French philosopher, Descartes? I
think it's Dushgars.
Sounds about right. You don't always have time to cook, do you, Tommy?
No, never. For me, it's all Wendy's all the time.
Well, not anymore with our friends at DoorDash. You can give yourself one less thing to worry about. Let DoorDash take care of your next meal. So DoorDash is the app that brings you the food you're craving right now, whether it's Wendy's or something else, right to your door. Ordering is easy. Open the DoorDash app, choose what you want to eat, and your food will be left safely outside your door with the new contactless delivery drop-off setting. With over 300,000 partners in the US, Puerto Rico, Canada, Australia, you can support your local go-tos or choose from your favorite national restaurants like Wendy's, like the Cheesecake Factory, or like my favorite, Chipotle.
Oh, yeah. They don't have freezers there. You know that, Eric? They don't have freezers in Chipotle. That's how fresh it is. They don't need them.
They don't need them. I ate them on episodes of Rogue Theory recently. Made a little Chipotle cameo. Many of your favorite local restaurants are still open for delivery. Just open the DoorDash app, select your favorite local restaurant, and your food will be left at your door. Right now, our listeners can get $5 off and 0 delivery fees on their first order for $15 or more when you download the DoorDash app and enter the code BIGQUESTION. That is $5 off and 0 delivery fees on your first order when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter the code BIGQUESTION. Don't forget, that's code BIGQUESTION for $5 off your first order with DoorDash.
Yes.
We also want to thank our friends at Native for sponsoring this episode. So, my body is a finely tuned machine of whatever snacks and drinks are within arm's reach while I rush to get stuff done. It's a finely tuned machine in which the oil is oil from pizza cheese.
Pizza time.
That said, I do believe that performance matters when it comes to what I put in my body. It has to do its job well. My snacks better fill my tum-tum upright, and my deodorant better keep me smelling fresh all day long. Well, Native deodorant doesn't just block odor better, it is made better. Native has great natural ingredients like coconut oil and shea butter. It's also vegan and never tested on animals.
Aw, I like when they really put deodorant all over the animals, but fair enough.
Animals don't care if they stink, so we shouldn't force them to smell better so that we can smell slightly better.
Okay.
See, aluminum forms a plug in your sweat glands to keep you from sweating. That's why Native never uses ingredients like aluminum, parabens, sulfates. But switching to an aluminum-free deodorant doesn't mean you have to sacrifice on odor protection. Native will keep you smelling and feeling fresh all day long. With over 10 different scents, including rotating seasonals, Native has something for everyone. Popular scents include coconut and vanilla, and citrus and herbal musk. Oh, yes.
You smell good.
My favorite scent is eucalyptus and mint, which, Tommy, smells like a koala was chewing some spearmint and breathed into my armpits.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's just really refreshing. It keeps me smelling nice even after a long day under the hot lights of the Blue Dungeon, which it gets very hot in here. It's like the surface of the sun. Native is risk-free to try. Every product comes with free shipping within the US, plus free 30-day returns and exchanges. See why so many people love Native, and check out the over 14,000 5-star reviews. Do what I did. Make the switch to Native today by going to nativedeo.com/bigquestion or use the promo code BIGQUESTION at checkout and get 20% off your first order. Woohoo! That is nativedeo.com/bigquestion or use the promo code BIGQUESTION at checkout for 20% off your first order. And now we move on to some bite-sized stuff. We got one question that Tommy's gonna answer. Our friend Rob sent us this amazing letter. We finally were able to check our mail. Thank you for handwriting a letter into us, Rob. It was so nice to hear from you. But if you read it here, he was asking all about movies that make predictions for the future. And he talked about having watched Back to the Future Part 2 recently, and how weirdly parallel that alternate 1985 is to the world we're currently living in. So we're gonna boil it all down. Rob wants to know, what movie got the prediction of the future most correct?
Well, Eric and Rob, that's a tough one to answer because lots of movies and TV shows have been pretty good at predicting stuff, but then have completely missed out on other things. So it's a little bit of a credibility gap. Give 2001: A Space Odyssey some credit for how far out their predictions of Skype-style video calls and voice-controlled robots like Siri were, all the way back in 1968.
Ooh.
And let me tell you, my Alexa had me held hostage in my living room last night for over an hour. So it's no joke.
You should be more polite to her.
You know what? You're right. I should stop calling her the B word. Beautiful. However, as is 2001 Space Odyssey did fail to predict, we have not had space tourism yet, and robots have not murdered humans yet that we know.
No, we know.
So let's take a look at some other films. First, we have Back to the Future, Part 2. Part 2, my favorite Back to the Future as a child. It was made in 1989, set in 2015. Here's what they got right. Google Glass-style eyewear, proto-Bluetooth headsets, flat-screen TVs, Skype-style phone calls, video billboards. Nike did make the Mag Air designed to look like the shoes in the film, but that was more of a tribute and, inspired by the movie rather than a prediction. What they got wrong was flying cars, hoverboards, drone dog walkers, but that's got to be coming soon. Wearing 2 ties at once, sound effects vests, and they failed to predict the internet or widespread cell phones.
But they got the World Series right? They said the Cubs would win the World Series in 2015.
Wish I could have put a little money on the Bubby. Yeah. Against a team from Miami, which is not true, but a team did eventually not move to Miami, but change from the Florida Marlins to the Miami Marlins. So that's not bad. I'm still waiting for clothes that can auto dry clean themselves, which would be very nice.
Your jacket is now dry.
I also have been wanting to have my Pizza Hut rehydrated.
Oh, you really know how to hydrate a pizza, man.
Oh, yeah.
Back to the Future Part 2 was weirdly accurate. It's kind of creepy. I mean, not to mention we have a very powerful leader that is essentially Donald Trump living in a casino. That's insane. Yeah. And then we have people who have machine guns on their porches. Yes. Right? We have Mr. Strickland speaking
Principal
at the RNC.
Strickland, yes. 2 McFlys with the same gun. Okay, so next we have Contagion. The 2011 movie accurately predicted a lot about our current global pandemic, including the virus starting when a wild animal, in the case of coronavirus and COVID-19, a bat, is pushed out of its habitat due to deforestation and interacts with our food system. The transmission and the symptoms are somewhat similar.
Yeah, they're both respiratory, and you have to worry about surfaces and stuff.
Travel is greatly limited, and some forms of martial law are imposed after violence breaks out. Hucksters are out there peddling false cures. I'm looking at you injecting bleach into your body, which was clearly said sarcastically, even though it wasn't.
The president has taken his 3rd bleach injection and has made a full recovery.
And also that... Also, those women that were on that faith healer show talking about silver nitrate.
Oh, right. It doesn't cause COVID, so
no. You know what else doesn't cause COVID? This dick. Oh God, we can't put that in. Okay, so here's what that's just for the 3 of us. Here's what they got wrong. The contagion disease was much deadlier than corona, though they have similar R0 rates of spread, so let's hope that's not a look at things to come. There's been no evidence of people being naturally immune to COVID-19 like Matt Damon's character was in the movie Contagion, although I like to think I'm pretty special.
Yeah. We did a whole video comparing right when this began. A ton of people were watching Contagion, and we want to do a video kind of clarifying how this is similar and how we should be cautious and how we should be put at ease. What is really scary about Contagion is by the end of Contagion, they say 20 million people died. We have had over 1 million people die so far. And that is scary that we're anywhere close. This is horrifying.
Equally as terrifying, slightly less depressing note, let's talk about Idiocracy, made in 2006, set in 2506.
That's right.
Here's what they got right. Fast food in the White House, and boy, did they nail that one. Trump tried to nominate Andrew Puzder, a former Carl's Jr. exec, to be the Secretary of Labor.
I'm the Secretary of State, brought to you by Carl's Jr.
Cars that can be remotely disabled if they don't pay their bills. That's terrifying and accurate. Here's what they got wrong. Dead crops due to watering them with electrolyte drinks. But there's still time, and God, if Fuddruckers doesn't become butt after they get over their Chapter 11.
You had Terry Crews, a pro wrestler, as president, and people are pushing The Rock to run for president. There is still time.
And Donald Trump is in the WWE Hall of Fame, so anyone who's received a Stone Cold Stunner, to me, is always eligible to be in the White House. Looking at you, Mike Tyson.
All right, we got time for one final Box of Scraps question. Box of Scraps! Staying on the theme of this episode, Tommy, have you ever had a glitch in the Matrix moment?
Yes. I've had some weird, obviously I talked about having the deja vu thing, and then I have superstitions about like flying, where like if my flight's going to be changed, I am always agonizing over like the flight that I was supposed to be on is going to land safely, the flight that I have changed to now is going to crash, or vice versa.
We have clearance, Clarence.
Roger, Roger. What's our vector, Victor?
I think about like, those are obviously negative ones. I have like a positive one. When I was 10 years old, we went to Disney World for the first time with my uncle Bob took us with my dad and my mom and his wife and kids. And when we got there, our great aunt Ellie was in Main Street, USA with like distant cousin of ours.
Whoa.
She knew, she was like their aunt as well, but we had no relationship with them. So we had no idea she was going to be there. So we saw her, we were close with her, and she was a really nice, sweet old woman. And she passed away like 2 weeks after that. And there's no way any of us would have seen her again. Like, you know, we would have never gotten a chance. She was old. She was like in her late 80s. Not that it ever makes it less sad, but not, I don't want to say she suddenly died at 54 in the middle of her prime. But like we saw her in Disney World and like spent a few moments. I think we ended up having lunch with them and like got to spend a little time with her for one last time. And then that was it. And then that was the last time any of us ever saw her. So that to me was one of those, like, we were, you know, based in Rochester, New York. We're almost 2,000 miles away in Florida. Had no knowledge that she was going to be there, despite being relatively close with her. And also, we just ran into her. Like, we were at a massive park. You know, I don't know how many people are in a Disney property at any given point when there's no COVID, but like, I assume it's hundreds of thousands. We found her at the exact point and met up with her. And this was all pre-cell phone too, so it's not like we could have texted and, you know, made any sort of plans. So that's what I got for my glitch in the Matrix.
I have a glitch in the Matrix thing that might just be a false memory that was implanted in my head. That does make sense. But when I was like 4 or 5 years old, my family went on a road trip. We were from Jacksonville, and we went on a road trip to South Florida, to the Florida Keys. We were staying in all these different hotels along this trip. There was 5 of us piled in this weird small van. It was like this particular tan gold colored van that, like, it was distinct. Like, I didn't see any other vans. I've never seen another van that looks like this. But at one point, we pull into the parking lot. It was like late at night. No one is in this parking lot. We park in this part of the parking lot. No other car is around. It's like, you know, this vacant lot. So I get out of the car and I start making my way to the lobby across the parking lot. And then I look over and my family is leaving in the van.
Oh, God.
They're pulling out of the parking lot, and I freak out. I start screaming and crying, running after it. I have like my night blanket that's just like toting like a cape behind me, and I'm screaming, trying to flag them down, and the car slams on the brakes, screeches to a halt, and I run up to it, and the window rolls down, and it's like this man I've never seen before.
Oh, God.
Just staring at me, so confused. And then my brother calls over to me and he goes, "Erik, what are you doing?" And then he's over there with my family and I'm just staring at them confused. I look back at the car I just flagged down. It is gone.
Oh, God.
Must have, I assume, pulled out of the lot, but it was gone. And it's something that scarred me. Somehow I was so confused as a 5-year-old, thinking my family had left me behind, but it was just happened to be someone else who had the same exact car.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is bonkers.
It was weird. It probably didn't go down exactly like that. I am remembering, you know, over 20 years ago.
It sounds like
a glitch in the Matrix.
Yes. Sounds like a glitch in the Matrix to me.
Proof we're living in a fake world.
Hell yes.
Well, that is our show. So great to talk with you, Tommy. I feel like we cleared a lot of things up. If you have an interesting simulated reality glitch in the Matrix moment from your past, share it in the comments below. We want to hear about it. We love hearing these kind of stories. A reminder that you can join our official Discord by becoming a patron at patreon.com/newrockstars. You can get an audio version of the show by subscribing to New Rockstars Big Question wherever you get your podcasts. You can also send us your big questions on Twitter using the hashtag Big Question. Follow me at EA Voss. Follow Tommy at Tommy Bechtold. Follow New Rockstars on social. Subscribe here on YouTube to get too much information, all the stuff you care about. Question everything, including the people who are telling you to question everything.
The truth is out there.
It's probably in a book.
A reading rainbow.
Bye, everybody. Stay
Go
safe.
Bills. Bye.